On today's episode of Club 904, we attempt to rectify the ills that have claimed the Jacksonville Jaguars over the last 4 weeks, and especially this past week in their most dramatic, in their most statistically, you already know how it is. 36-29, final score from Houston. Austen Lane going to step in for a 1-2 step film breakdown. You know the club is going up on a Tuesday, folks. Let's get after it. Worst collapse in franchise history? I don't even know where to, put the adjectives, use the pronouns when it comes to the Jaguars this past weekend in Houston. But hey, welcome into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. I am your host, Mia O'Brien, excited to bring our friend Austen Lane back into the fold for a little 1-2 step film breakdown. Before we bring Austen into the club, want to remind you that you can always subscribe to the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. That is where this podcast is housed, both on YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcasts on demand. Although something tells me, given that this is a film breakdown episode, you're going to want to tell your friends to watch this one in video form. And so without further ado, we bring in, you just heard him on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel on the Brent and Austin show, the one and only former Jaguar, Austen Lane. Austen, before we even dive into the film, the Civil War, the Trevor Lawrence Civil War, has raged on for about a month now. And so I say to you, 30,000-foot view, and I know you've given your take the last 2 days on the Brent and Austin show. I believe there was a Jaguars happy hour. I don't think it got canceled on Monday. So that's also available at the Jaguars in-house podcast channel. But your thoughts, where this team goes from here, because it was really interesting for me, Austen, because last night I was hosting on ESPN radio and watching Packers fans, which ironically, you are from the great state of Wisconsin.
I am.
Watching Packers, not only fans, but respected journalists melt down in real time after a 10-7 rock fight loss. It gave me a little bit of pause and maybe optimism that it's rough all over and it's not just the Jaguars and their fan base that are searching for answers. But at the same time, I do think that a lot of these issues are deeper rooted than maybe we would have thought a month and a half ago.
No, without a doubt, right? And I think a lot of things can come away from that Packers game. And if you want to compare it to what's happening in Jacksonville, I think right now you have a premium at the tight end position because Jacksonville loses Brenton Strange for an extended period of time. Look what this offense became. Green Bay loses their star tight end in Tucker Kraft. Look what their offense was last night. So, it's funny because I always feel like there's the ebbs and flows of how important the tight end position is perceived, right? Like I think Travis Kelce, Darren Waller when he was with the Raiders, and obviously George Kittle. Like there's a couple guys out there that really elevated that position. It went a little quiet. Now you have guys like Tyler Warren, George Kittle still doing his thing as well. But like I think what this is showing me more than anything is that if you have a reliable tight end, not only in the pass game, but also in run blocking, that can be the difference maker right there. And obviously I have a lot of connections in Green Bay. It's funny because similar situations,
similar quarterbacks, even as you guys were just talking about on the Brent and Austin show.
But one, it's like it's all in the quarterback and Trevor Lawrence, it seems like here. And in Green Bay, it's more of, well, what is Matt LaFleur doing, right? Like, what is the Green Bay offense identity? How many times can you give it to Josh Jacobs? You're paying Jordan Love how much money? Put the rock in his hands and let him go to work. So there is a difference there where I feel like we're still having the debate of, all right, is Trevor Lawrence really elite? Is he good? Like, where does he fall? And the debate in Green Bay is more of, well, what is Matt LaFleur doing?
Right. And can he just let Jordan Love cook? Although, to be frank, we really don't know, in my opinion, what Jordan Love is, because much like Trevor Lawrence, he had this euphoric second half of his second full season as a starter, started off hot in his third season, and has largely just kind of been okay ever since. I mean, unlike Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love has a 71% completion percentage. At least he did going into last night's game. And so maybe that's where a lot of the Jaguars fan frustration and perhaps even frustration in the building stems from when it comes to their quarterback. And so without further ado, let's dive into the film room. Let's have a little 1-2 step film breakdown, Austen. For those who may be new to Club 904, we look at one offensive play, one defensive play. we are changing it up a little bit this week. We're going to give you one defensive play for your Jaguars, and then we're going to look at the final offensive drive because, in my opinion, Austin, those 4 plays, that one drive, a microcosm of Trevor Lawrence's career. And so, without further, go ahead.
No, without a doubt. And once again, I want to apologize on behalf of the lighting. I wanted it this way. I'm going into my emo gothic era, right? My Paul Bearer era, because the plan today is to break this film down and then let's bury it deep down 6 feet under and get ready for the Chargers, because I don't want to talk about anymore about how bad this loss looks and how it may be one of the worst losses in franchise history. It was that bad on Sunday.
I didn't even know what words to say off the top of this episode, Austin. And I did 2 post-game shows on Sunday. So that kind of tells you. And I did a whole 3-hour radio show last night where thankfully I talked about the whole league because yikes. All right, let's dive into it. Let's get you in the film breakdown room. Let me add your camera to the stage. Here we are, Austin. So this is the final play of the, I guess not the day, but technically for the offensive unit for Houston. And so it's 3rd and 17. It's 3rd and goal. Mm-hmm. Davis Mills lined up with the running back on his left hip. Yeah. Pre-snap, what do you see the Jaguars doing? Maybe what would you like to see them doing pre-snap versus what you're actually seeing here?
Yeah, so here's a few things about what's going into this play here, because I saw this happen a couple of times. It didn't happen in this play, but something that kind of got my attention a little bit is they had a habit of running games when they were in the red zone, and it was either like by the goal line on the 5-yard line. Like, this team was running a lot of games. Now I understand you run games because you can't manufacture pressure by rushing 4, but the situation right here, it's not a time to run games because the ball comes out quickly. And if I'm a defender right now, and I get what is you said it's 3rd down, and I think it was 12, was it, or 10?
Yeah,
whatever.
3rd and 7. I think it was 3rd and 17. Actually,
correction. Yeah, 3rd and 17. So as a pass rusher, I'm thinking this much. All right, it's 3rd and 17. There's
3rd
not
and 14. 3rd and 14. Split the difference.
Great, thank you. All right, so it's 3rd and 14. The ball's probably going to come out quick, just knowing where it is and everything. I have to make sure that we're not going to run any games here, but I have to rush on the level of the quarterback. Right now, I talked about this a little bit, and people have an issue with it, but it's the truth. Like, I do feel in the situation right now, there's some tired guys out there. Right now, take that for how you want. I think when your offense puts up 2 yards and has whatever a couple minutes of time possession in that 4th quarter, I think you put your defense behind the 8 ball a little bit, especially a defense that was on the field a lot, it seemed like. So you have guys that are gassed right now that are exhausted. That's not an excuse. Like, you're a football player making a lot of money. You still have to produce. But at the end of the day, you have to go in with this mindset of you can't let Davis Mills beat you with his legs. So you have to rush on the plane of the quarterback. And the difference right now between what you saw on Sunday with the Houston Texans defensive line is they have the situational awareness. If they weren't going to get home, what do we see? Guys get their hands up in the air and try to knock some of those balls down. You didn't see that with the Jaguars. You saw a defensive line that feels like they're pressing, that feels like they're trying to do it all themselves and not work as a cohesive unit. And this play right here is a classic example of that.
So they rushed with 4, Austin, to your point. They didn't come with the stunts or games, which, by the way, a big picture, I feel like we saw much more stunts games from Anthony Campanelli in the first 4 weeks of the season, not in the last 4 or 5 weeks. What say you, big picture, as to why maybe we're not seeing that same creativity, especially when they can't get home with 4?
So I spoke on this a little bit on the Jaguars pregame show, where when Lloyd was in there, they had a habit of, okay, we're going to stack the box, we're going to drop some guys, we're going to blitz some guys, but it's all about the pre-snap looks, right? And it was all about confusing the quarterback. You have a quarterback in Davis Mills where I get it. Like, you don't have to throw the kitchen sink at him because, well, he's Davis Mills. He's
which, by the way, was the plan largely. Their plan was largely, we're going to let Davis Mills try to beat us, and then he did.
Which, congratulations. He not only did he beat you, he took you behind the woodshed. Like, it was bad. Okay. So I understand the philosophy here. Right. And I thought Lloyd coming back may have changed up some of the looks a little bit, but it was a lot more of the same that we've seen with Ventrell Miller. My point though is I'm not mad with rushing 4. If you would have told me, Mia, that, hey, the game plan's going to be let Davis Mills beat us and we're probably going to rush 4 a majority of the time, I would have saw that Texans offensive line, which is a makeshift offensive line right now. They had an injury. They have rookies playing on their offensive line. They're not a good offensive line. So I would have told you in the pregame, you know what? Yeah, go ahead and send 4. Let's talk about the secondary a little bit. You have Josh Hines Allen. You have Trayvon Walker. Eric Armstead leads your team in quarterback sacks. You should be able to get home in 4. Well, this right here coming up is a prime example of why 4 is not going to work going forward.
And here it is. And again, it's one-on-one matchups for both 41 and 44 against, as you alluded to, Austen, not exactly, the Laramie Tunsil's of a Houston offensive line pass. Trayvon Walker does win his one-on-one.
Dominates
and then what happens with 44?
So this is what I talk about: pass rush discipline and lane discipline. All Josh Hines Allen had to do was realize, you know what, man, I'm on right now the back hip of the tackle. If I work back a little quicker, I'm gonna fall right into a sack. But by the time that he realizes it, by the time that he has that feel, it's too late. And literally all Josh Hines Allen had to do in the situation, if he just bull rushes, and then they call it truck driving, right down the middle and just bull rushes, Trayvon Walker's having this sack. Like, there's no doubt about it. But what happens? There's Josh Hines Allen gets too far upfield. You have a 3 technique right now that's going, taking on a double team, but gets too far inside, and you have this hole. And like, keep in mind, right now, Davis Mills isn't even running for the touchdown. Like, he's trying to find the open guy. Like right now. If this is Josh Allen, if this is Lamar Jackson, okay, I get it. You're out the gate, touchdown. This is Davis freaking Mills that we're talking about. Not necessarily like the most, mobile threat to take it, deep. But that's what happens here, where he's analyzing, guys could be straining a little bit, but then I also have a problem up right here. Guys let up, and I get it. At this point, it's a formality. He's in the end zone. But you talk about 30 seconds left in the game. It's on your defense to try to go out there and win it. It's against a divisional rival who, by the way, should still have some bad blood from knocking your quarterback out last year. And this is the effort that we see at the end. Like, it just can't happen. And I understand here, Lloyd, people got a big issue with Devin Lloyd here. He was told in this play, because it's man coverage here, hey, Woody Marks, take him. Right? So he's in the predicament now of, okay, do I take Woody Marks and don't surrender the passing touchdown? Or do I take Davis Mills and, maybe he throws it to Woody Marks? The problem is he's way past the line of scrimmage here. But once again, this is where I think fatigue and exhaustion comes into play. I think if you're clear-minded, if it's the first play of the game, Lloyd's got to realize, hey, he's past the line of scrimmage. I got to work off my man and Woody Marks and go make this play and win us the football game.
And dare Davis Mills to try to throw it to Woody Marks, which
exactly
from my reporting and what I was told, that was kind of the game plan going in. We are going to let Davis Mills and a makeshift offensive line beat us. And if they can, you tip your cap. That's exactly what happened. 2 other players I want to dive into where they are on the field here, Austen, before we flip it on over to the offensive side. This is actually for my grandpa. My grandpa wants to know, why did they not put a spy on Davis Mills? And so then when I'm watching this play back, what is Foye Oluokun at the top of the screen doing?
So Foye right now, it looks like he's in a spy, but I think he's also got coverage responsibilities. So what he's looking for right now, like, if we can sit here and say, was he spying Davis Mills? I'm going to be honest, Mia. I don't think you have to spy Davis Mills.
No, and that's what I said to my poppy. I was like, dog, come on now.
Again, this isn't Lamar Jackson. So while, like, in this frame right here, it looks like, okay, well, Foye's got the spy on. This is, then he lets him out. That's not the case. Foye is waiting for something to cross his face, right? And it could be Woody Marks. You have 19 in the back there, but it looks like he's getting a little depth. Like, Foye is looking for somebody to cross his face, and if nobody crosses his face, it's his job to get deeper and to try to take with that zone coverage. Like, that's all it is. There wasn't a spy on here. Foye didn't, like, lose his spy responsibilities because it's Davis Mills. And you see right here, Foye breaks off at Woody Marks. I think this is Dalton Schultz coming. Is that Dalton Schultz?
It's Dalton Schultz. Yep.
And then you have Dalton Schultz. Like, there's not. I mean, you got to turn your back, right? Like, I understand that. And once again, you're turning your back on Davis Mills. I don't think Foye Oluokun thought, well, I'm going to turn my back and he's going to scramble for whatever 14 yards. Like, nobody's thinking that. I wasn't thinking that. The defensive line wasn't thinking that. But obviously, this is what can happen when people aren't on their P's and Q's. And it really starts with one of your highest paid players in Josh Hines Allen. You have to have the same level of responsibility. And if you don't, things like this can happen.
One more player, Greg Newsome, enters the screen. As you can see in the top, he is the one defender who does not have an assignment, it appears.
Yep.
I mean, it is like his responsibility at that point, just get after the quarterback.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that should be right, because once again, it's apparent that the line of scrimmage is crossed. So now you have to go out there and obviously make a play. Lloyd doesn't have the situation, though, because Lloyd's still on Woody Marks right now, and Lloyd almost kind of screens his own player from trying to make that play from stopping Davis Mills to get in the end zone.
What a time. What a time. Here's the funny news, though, Austin, is that the Jaguars had 30-plus seconds left on the clock. In theory, you have a kicker who has kicked now from 68 yards, an NFL record. And so you say, you know what? You can just get to midfield. You're in Cam Little's range.
Yep.
And so I bring you the Jaguars' final offensive drive and final. Let's start play by play. I'm not going to show you the 21-yard scramble by Trevor Lawrence because I don't think there's any reason to show that. It was a good play by Trevor. And again,
great deal and got his did what he had to do in that situation.
No, and that's why this whole drive is a microcosm of the Trevor Lawrence experience, because you arguably had two great plays and you had two god-awful sacks. And I don't know if, and this is where we're going to do the breakdown, I'm curious if you believe those sacks are on the quarterback or if they are on the actual operation. And so here is the first play from a scrimmage. This would have been just standard 1st and 10 for the Jaguars. At this point in time, they are on their own 33-yard line.
Correct. So first of all, let's and once again, just this is based off the pre-snap look in general.
Mm-hmm.
Houston generally sends 4 because they can get away with sending 4. They have great interior push, and obviously Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. on the edges. It allows them to get home with 4. So that allows their secondary to, obviously cook and eat and everything, just because, well, hey, if we're only rushing 4, we got help in the back end. Like, that's the complementary football, and that's what makes the Houston Texans defense so great. But now, if I'm the coordinator of the Texans, I'm looking at, okay, they have 1 timeout remaining. Ball's on what we'll call the 35, maybe, I think it is, right?
33.
Yeah.
33.
33-yard line, right. So if I'm Houston, I'm like, okay, route concepts and everything, they probably got to beat us deep, but at the same time, I am worried about Cam Little, right? So I was a little surprised here to see this look pre-snap, because I'm like, are they actually going to blitz here, or are they going to drop some guys back? And then we'll play the video, then we'll kind of go from here.
And it should be noted, Jonah Monheim in at right guard for Patrick McCarry, and Chuma Edoga in at right tackle. I'm sure we will get back to that here shortly. Here it is. Snap to Trevor Lawrence from Robert Hainsey. What do we see, Austin?
So we see the cross. I mean, first of all, offensive line, so far it's okay, but it's about to get ugly really quick. I believe it's Johnny Munt, and this is what should have been done all day. Let's not just put a tight end on Hunter and hope that it works out. Let's help out our tackles a little more, and let's chip, and then let our tackles do their thing. Like right now, in terms of the pocket, it's not bad. And surprisingly, you have the Houston Texans blitzing a couple guys, which, I understand it, but I don't understand it, just because they can get home with 4. But right now, they're trying to risk it for the biscuit. They're saying, we're going to send the house at Trevor Lawrence. We're going to see what he's made of. And as we can see here, we have, I believe it's Jacoby Myers at the top, starts to open up a little bit, at least in this frame right here.
I don't even think Trevor's at the top of his drop here. No, he was not. Now he's at the top of his drop, and there's the pressure. So to that, I say, Austen Lane, the Jaguars have to eliminate 5 and 7-step dropbacks when they're going up against a defense like the Texans?
So and this is why the Texans defensive coordinators are getting paid, and I'm doing the show with you, and I'm doing it happy for free. But like, this is where I would have done things differently, but it worked out great. I would have thought here in this route system that there would have been a short to intermediate route.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't. Like, you did have Johnny Munn, I believe, was the tight end that chipped. You had him if you needed to throw it to him, but once again, you have 1 timeout left, and time is of the essence. This was a play that took a long time to develop, and I think Houston knew that. Now, I didn't. I thought, okay, you're going to have maybe a check down, you're going to have someone underneath where it's going to make things a little easier. Houston thought, okay, they're going to take this long developing routes with 1 timeout left. Let's send the house. Let's give a different wrinkle, and let's see how they respond to it. Now, truth be told, they didn't have to send the house. Like, yeah, maybe Myers was open on that crossing pattern. But the point is that Trevor had 0 time here because, well, I said Walker Little kind of had his guy in the first frame. Where are we at now? Like, Trevor hasn't even got into like, his his
Throwing motion.
contact,
Yeah, he
and,
hasn't even set his feet.
and he's already getting hit. And this is from his blind side. So he has no time to feel, the backside edge rusher getting ready to sack him. Like, he's focused probably on Myers or somebody else right now. So, yeah, like you said, Mia, this is the Trevor Lawrence experience right here, right? And this is complimentary football. His offensive line did him absolutely zero favors right here, and this is the result of it. And it really comes on Walker Little, because I don't care if you're sending 6, 7, 8. If you go back to it, it's simple. Walker Little got beat one-on-one, and that was kind of the emphasis the entire day against the Houston Texans.
And I think what's interesting when we look at the final play of the game, the Sheldon Rankins fumble touchdown, scooped up the fumble and then scores. Yeah. I think what's interesting with that one, Austin, and we'll get to it here in just a second, Chuma Edoga was left on an island on that play. Cole Van Lanen slide and helped Walker Little out. And in that situation, the Texans only rushed 3. But the point is, they tried to change it up. Like, they tried to bring tight end help on the right side. Then they'd bring a running back to chip on the left. They tried to fluctuate it. But the reality was both tackles, especially once Anton Harrison went down, needed help. Yeah. And they just didn't have enough bodies to contain this Texans front. And so that's where, to your point, I think, like, if there is a way to diagnose this beyond Walker Little got beat, plain and simple, it is, why are you having these slow developing, dare I say, Press Taylor like plays when you know who you are going up against and you have seen what they have done to you all day?
No, without a doubt. And I think that rings true. Like, listen, I understand that, I think this fan base has been calling for more of those deep shots, and rightfully so. I think if you want to have a good to great NFL offense, you have to have the threat of the deep shot. Now, obviously, with this much time remaining and one time out, I think that the playbook gets a little more limited of what you actually want to do here. But the Houston Texans knew it. They knew, like, okay, down in distance, timeouts left, like, they knew everything. And this blitz right here once again exemplifies that. Now, they didn't have to blitz, because all it was Walker Little getting beat. Like, they could have left some guys back in the secondary a little bit, but and by the way, this, if you want to see a quarterback spy, this was a quarterback spy on this play.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Where that nobody's coming through, quarterback spy, linebacker cleans it up. It is what it is. But this all starts with Walker Little, and once again, it's shocking me, because going into the first, 3 or 4 weeks, the offensive line felt like the strength of this team, right? And even when they played the Houston Texans the first time, I get they couldn't run the football well in the first half, but then they got like 70 yards the second half against Houston in Jacksonville. Those days are gone now, right? And especially with Liam Cohen preaching physicality and the ability to run the football. And granted, they had some good shows running the football Sunday against Houston, but in terms of physicality, you're just not seeing it right now. And the Rams were an example of that. The Seahawks were an example of that. And the Texans right now are kind of like the latest victims of that.
And so now we go to an example of the other big issue that has plagued this offensive line, which is penalties at the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And for me, Austin, again, this is the complete Trevor Lawrence experience on one drive. Mm-hmm. This is a dime by Trevor Lawrence as he rolls out to the right. And as we've discussed on this show, you've discussed it on the Brett and Austin show, Trevor Lawrence arguably is at his best when he is rolling out to his right. Correct. And especially in his second and third seasons in the National Football League, he was nearly undefeated there. And so I like the play call in that they get him out to the right. Yep. They bring help along the left side of the offensive line for Walker Little. They've got Johnny Munt lined up out there. LaQuint Allen goes and looks for help along the left side too.
And Mia, just real quick too, and keep in mind too, this play takes a little bit to develop, but what the plus is and why you're helping out your team if you're Liam Cohen is because now you're letting Trevor Lawrence roll out, where I feel like he sees the field a lot better. He just, for whatever reason, has that comfortability when he's rolling out. The play takes longer to develop, but you can get by with it because now you have the athleticism of Trevor Lawrence and his legs, the vision of Trevor Lawrence. Great things can happen.
And you're moving the pocket, which is something they barely did a season ago. And it's something they did in his second and third seasons that really behooved him. I do want to keep eyes on 55, not just because Chuma Edoga, of course, gets flagged for hands to the face, but you see him, Austin. He comes up, he picks up the edge rusher. He brings him to the line of scrimmage. This free rusher was always going to find his way from the second level, I think, to pressure Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. He does let his guy go. Good on Trevor that he's still able to get the throw off to Parker Washington. Obviously, it's doomed from the moment the official throws the flag. Yeah. But that's where, again, it's the full Trevor experience. But outside of the hands to the face, I mean, this probably is the game-winning play, is it not?
No, without a doubt, because you're confident with Cam Little and how he's kicking lately. Like, that can get the job done. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Like, that's what it's supposed to look like. Now, obviously, the penalty is one thing, and it's hard to tell, obviously, from this view. But I mean, listen, it was a penalty. He had the hands in the face mask, and it is what it is. If the hands just a couple inches lower in that neck and that, in that pad line, we're probably having a different conversation right now. And maybe I'm wearing all white instead of all black, like I'm a pallbearer. But it's the fact of the matter of what happened. But this is an example, Mia, and this is a great point. This is the Trevor Lawrence experience. You set him up for success, you roll him out, and you see what happens. Like, and this is, I think, the frustrating part. And whether you're pro Trevor Lawrence or you're anti Trevor Lawrence, because you can't be in the middle, you have to be on one side or the other. I think we can all agree that we've seen glimpses of brilliance and we've seen glimpses of greatness. The frustrating part is that we haven't seen enough of those. And whether that's, you want to call the scheme, offensive line, the defense not having, Trevor's back, or Trevor Lawrence himself, like, all those things can be true. And that's where I feel like a lot of emotion from this fan base is stemming from, because we've seen so much good. We've seen him make throws that only 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the NFL can make. We just haven't seen enough of them.
We have pretty much the 50-50 divide in the YouTube chat right now, by the way, Austin. We got 50%. Trevor is awful. You have to run a high school playbook for him. 50%. He literally was pressured 100% of the snaps that he dropped back on in the fourth quarter. And then a lot of guys who I guess aren't enjoying their Veterans Day and hanging out with us because, anyways, a lot of negativity. Come on, folks. Like, I know this is difficult. Like Austin said, we're going to go through one more play and then we're going to bury this for good and look ahead to the Chargers. Like, it's all good, folks. The ugliest play of them all. Here we go. Oh, let's mute that. So final play. They bring 3. And again, Cole Van Lannon slides because there's only 3 rushers coming from Houston. And so he slides to help Walker Little. Leaving Chuma Edoga on an island is what frees, I believe it's Will Anderson, up. And that's where this play ultimately goes wrong, because even if Trevor Lawrence doesn't fumble the ball and Sheldon Rankins makes an incredible play, he's sacked and the game is over. Correct. And so that's where I think it does fall on the coaching staff. And I know that there's some folks in the chat who are mad at me now because how dare you make more excuses for Trevor? I'm curious how you see it, Austin.
Yeah. So, okay, just pre-snap once again. If I have an offensive lineman and I've known this on the defensive line, and offensive linemen know this as well. It's obvious what the play call for the Texans is going to be here. They're not going to blitz anybody. It's 1st and 20, 7 seconds left, 0 timeouts for the Jaguars. They're in prevent defense. Keep everything in front of you, and let's rush 3. Now, granted, the 3 that are rushing are pretty dominant, right? Especially on the edges. But they can't win. If you have 5, and by the way, you're going to have a chipper, so you essentially have 6, and it's 6 on 3, I don't care if it's a football field, a street fight, a baseball game, whatever. Like, you can't lose that battle. And spoiler alert, as we get ready to play it, they lose the battle. Now, Trevor can do his part. We'll break it down a little bit, but like, you can't lose it when it's 6 on 3. Simple as that.
Right. And that's what happens. And so we see the 3 come. LaQuint Allen also goes to help Walker Little with Danielle Hunter. So for maybe even the first time today, like, hey, that they recognize 55 has 4 sacks today. Maybe you want to block him. But then you see at the top of the screen, Will Anderson escapes from Chuma Edoga, and that's where he's able to come off that the left side of the defensive line. And
so what real quick once again here. Okay, so by the way, and I misspoke. I said 6 on 3. It's actually with Allen, it was 7 on 3.
Yeah.
So you have 7 blockers for their 3. You should at least buy your quarterback, 8 seconds because how many times have we seen this, Mia, where a team wants to rush 3 and they're just kind of like they're playing patty cake, getting their hands up like the game's over, just getting ready to go celebrate. Like, no, these guys are essentially coming off scot-free. And once again, this is Will Anderson at the top. That can't happen. That can happen. And by the way, if it's going to happen, you can't get beat on the outside, right? Because once again, with Trevor's scrambling ability, you do him no favors by letting your guy beat you on the outside. Like, if you're going to lose, overset on the inside, wash him down, and let Trevor kind of work out a little bit and scramble out.
Right.
It doesn't happen here. The exact opposite happens. Now, if you want to get to Trevor Lawrence real quick, like, yeah, obviously pocket awareness, you might have to have it a little more and at least give your team the opportunity. But I don't know what to tell you when you have 7 blockers on 3 and you can't buy your quarterback more than a couple seconds to try to hit a guy on a Hail Mary. Like,
well, I would just think that it was already predetermined that Cole Van Lannon was going to slide and help Walker Little and look for work. And so,
yeah.
I mean, if LaQuint Allen goes to that right side, does that change
Well,
things?
so and here's my big thing about it. And this, I assume that this was a conversation. It wasn't a conversation probably like at a timeout or anything, but who's more likely to beat you on the Houston Texans? The edge guys, or are we talking about the 3 technique? Who, but once again, is respected in his own right. But like, I'm worried about Hunter. I'm worried about Will Anderson Jr. So if that's the emphasis, then I'm going to make sure that I have all the bodies on them. And if a 3 technique wants to beat me one-on-one or whatever the case, then you know what? More power to him. I guess you got the best of us. But I refuse to let Hunter or Will Anderson beat me. And this slide protection here, and I agree with you. I think it was always predetermined what was going to happen. But
so then why leave Chuma Edoga on the island? Like, he's already racked up the penalties on the 2 plays earlier. Like, I understand you want to call the same playbook as if Anton Harrison's in there.
Well, and this is going to be my point, Mia. To me, it almost felt like they forgot that Anton Harrison was out of the game. Yeah. Like, that's what this slide is showing me here. Now, I don't know if that was the case or not. I don't know if they just have, set plays and it's like, doesn't matter who's in, we're running this. I don't know. But you did your backup right tackle 0 favors by essentially chipping him, getting a little chip help and then putting him on an island. Like zero favors.
Yeah.
And then
Johnny Munt, and then he takes off.
Yeah. Yeah. And once again, like at this point, was there a lot of faith? Probably not, because you're not going to get, you have Cam Little kick a field goal. There's not enough time left to get over there and spike it. So this has to go to the end zone. And it went about a foot to a defender, and it is what it is. And here comes the Liam Cohen, headset throw.
We burned the tape. We did our 1-2 film step breakdown. We did our penance on this fine Tuesday in Club 904, Austin. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And so I leave you with this before you head off for the day at Action Sports Jack Studios. Where do the Jaguars go from here? What are you most concerned about? What can actually be corrected realistically?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think if I'm a player in that locker room, I can go, okay, this was a one-off, right? Like that wasn't us, kind of all that rhetoric and everything. Kind of like the Bills are going to say it was a one-off against the Dolphins, right? Just like Green Bay last week was going to say it was a one-off against the Carolina Panthers, even though then, they lose again to the Eagles. That might be some of the rhetoric, but right now what they have to do is figure out what their identity is, Mia. First and foremost.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk about the playoffs, and I'm going to speak playoffs right now after that game that I just witnessed, kind of more like a pipe dream. But if you want to talk about playoffs and you have aspirations to still go to the playoffs, then you better figure out who you are and what you do well. Because and I always kind of look at it like this: if you're a solid team, if you're a playoff caliber team, if your friend asks you from a different state across the country who is your team, then you better have about 3 or 4 positive talking points to say of who that team is and what they do well. I don't have that right now for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't have that on defense. I think they can run the ball when they choose to run the ball, but then that's kind of a question, isn't it, sometimes as well? So right now, I think you have a defense that obviously is playing like one of the worst in the league. I think you have a special teams that's fine, but that doesn't really necessarily win you football games. And then you have an offense that doesn't know what they want to do or doesn't know who they are. So I think you have to walk before you can run. That's got to be the goal, first of all, is what do we do well? What can we do to put players in position to succeed? And then go from there. And when you have that figured out, then come talk to me about, okay, what are expectations and things like that. But you have to walk before you can run. And right now they're definitely more in walking somber mode. And you're getting ready to play a Chargers team that they have a lot to play for as well. And if I'm a guy on defense, I'm not going to lie. I'm worried about the Chargers. Yes, their offensive line is rancid. So was the Texans, right? And by the way, if you watch any Chargers film this year, their skill position players in totality, much better than the Texans are. So I think the Jaguars defense is going to have their work cut out for them. And then also right now you have a Chargers offense that a Chargers defense that's kind of finding their footing now. Khalil Mack's getting back healthy and everything. Like, they're starting to gain some more confidence. So this feels like a must-win game coming off of one of the worst losses in franchise history, and you're going to be at home. I'm not saying I'm picking the Jaguars quite yet, but I'm going to have to see a lot for them to even feel good about going to the playoffs.
Good thing it is only Tuesday. We've got 3, 4 days, 5 days to still kind of diffuse from whatever happened in Houston, throw it away, burn the tape, and look ahead to maybe the Jaguars getting back to running the ball and perhaps even having, as you started the show by saying, Austin, having Brenton Strange back, which could change the complexity of that Jaguars offense. We appreciate you hanging out with us. I always ask you for 15, 20 minutes. We somehow go much longer. Appreciate you hopping in for a little film breakdown, brother.
No,
man.
Thanks for having me, man. This is more like, I think, therapeutic than anything, man. I think I needed this more than like the audience needed it. So I appreciate it. I'm gonna go back to wearing like my white hoodie now. I'm feeling better.
Good. We're out of the goth phase. We're out of the goth.
Out of the gallows. Yeah. We're starting to. I'm starting to see some sun shining poking through here. So there we go.
It may be 50 degrees, but at least hell hasn't frozen over in Duval quite like it did the day that Trent Baalke was fired. That was a one-off. Maybe this game was a one-off as well. Appreciate you hanging out with us, Austin. There he goes, Austen Lane. And of course, you catch him and Brent each and every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel. We've still got a whole lot to do. We ran over with Austin, really appreciative of his time. When we come back, we're going to dive inside the data bank from our friend Dan Griffiths at Action News Jax and see exactly if this is really as ugly as the film suggested. Don't go anywhere. Club 904 continues right after this.
Welcome inside the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that, we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why Gutter Helmet?
Well, Gutter Helmet is truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground, the water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With Gutter Helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter Helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax Pal. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax Pal.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, You can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team, like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right?
That's right.
So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904 following the Jaguars' disappointing loss in Houston, but looking ahead to their Week 11 matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers. First and foremost, want to thank everybody who's hanging out with us live on a Tuesday. Our thanks to our veterans and the sacrifice they've made for our country on this fine Veterans Day. We appreciate you. We also appreciate seemingly the many Texans and Titans fans who either are at the office or must have the day off, and they've infiltrated the Club 904 YouTube chat. I think the boys are having a lot of fun with you guys right now on YouTube. So if you're not watching live and you want to get in on that conversation, head on over to the YouTube feed. With that said, to Mike Norvell, not Mike Norvell, the Florida State coach, the other Mike Norvell in the YouTube chat who asked if the Mo'Brien NFL Notebook feed and Patreon Discord chat is quite as colorful as what we're seeing on YouTube right now. Don't worry, Mike, it is not. And of course, you can sign up right now for a free 7-day trial at the Mo'Brien NFL Notebook. You'll see the link scrolling at the bottom of your screen. You also can click on the link if you head on over to my Twitter page at Mia O'Brien TV. Either click the link tree or click that first video pinned at the top, and it'll be in the second tweet. Let's dive into some numbers. Our friend Dan Griffiths not with us today, but he did such a great job in really analyzing this one that I wanted to make sure we kind of broke it down with many of his numbers and some others that I've seen floating around as well. So let's get into it. This first one from Dan. Oh, no, that's going to be the last one. There we go. I think is probably the best place to start because while, yes, many of the YouTube commenters are losing their mind about Trevor Lawrence, and there are many media personalities in this town who want several offensive linemen, or at least one in particular, benched. For me, it remains the pre-snap penalties that is the most perplexing and just disheartening aspect of this team's ineptitude over the last month and a half. And so Dan did the numbers. The most penalized players for the Jaguars this season: Patrick McCarry, number 1 with 9. Jordan Lewis, who missed this past week's game with a neck injury, 6. Walker Little with 5. Trevor Lawrence with 5. And Chuma Edoga in limited snaps with 5 penalties as well. By the way, those 5 penalties, not snaps, 5 penalties that Chuma Edoga has incurred are the most since his rookie campaign with the New York Jets in 2019. And those 5 flags were through an entire complete season. And so I don't know if it's something in the water. I don't think it is the messaging coming from the coaching staff and the discipline, but that's why I asked Liam Cohen during his Monday availability, this idea of if the standard is the standard, at what point in time do you have to start pulling guys? We did see Chuma Edoga get pulled against the Seattle Seahawks after those back-to-back penalties. Could we see similar scenarios play out at Everbank Stadium on Sunday, to the point of the pressure rate really ramping up here in the last month, perhaps because Brenton Strange, has been on the reserve injured list the last 4 games. That is certainly a factor, I think, in the run game. I think he does do a great job in pass blocking as well and providing chip help for those 2 tackles. As you can see in this graph that Dan was able to put together thanks to Next Gen Stats, first 4 weeks of the season, mighty fine. And I'd be remiss if I didn't note that third number you see, that 25% pressure rate, was against the same Texans defense that you see the last dot on this chart, a 50% pressure rate. And on the final fourth quarter, 3 drives of this game, a 100% pressure rate, as so many have documented on the internet the last 48 hours. It's the same defensive front. It's largely the same offensive line for the Jaguars. So what went wrong? Why did they not learn from that week 3 experience? Why did they not say, hey, Chuma Edoga is now in the game at right tackle. Maybe we should bring some more help for him, as opposed to sliding help for Walker Little, who, yes, was struggling mightily with Danielle Hunter. But I was intrigued as to some of the decisions where they brought protection and where they did not, given these pressure numbers rising. And again, I think there is a correlation to Brenton Strange being out of the lineup. I also think that other 50% pressure rate coming against the Seattle Seahawks is no surprise, because I do think when all is said and done, that's a Seahawks defensive front that's going to go down as one of the best of the 2025 season in the National Football League. Dan has a great article right now at Action News Jax. Want you guys to check out. Both sides of the trenches, in his estimation, have collapsed here through this last month of the season. Certainly the offensive line numbers we have gone through here today. But on the defensive front, I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to get the numbers out there anyways. And I encourage you to go check out Dan's article over at actionnewsjax.com. The Jaguars defense is 23rd in pressure percentage at 32%. They are 32nd in sack percentage at 3.2% of their snaps resulting in a sack. Not great, Bob. .gif. 28th in non-blitz press percentage at 26.1. And that's where, again, my conversation with Austen really comes into play. This idea of those stunts in those games. Why are you running them deep in your own territory as opposed to in the middle of the field where maybe you can gain an advantage? Maybe we do need to see more blitzing. Liam Cohen told reporters on Monday he was standing next to Anthony Campanelli and he really didn't disagree with any of the calls that were being made. Part of that is him looking out for his guy. But I think that, again, depending on personnel that ultimately Liam Cohen would like to have here and what they've been presented, they're trying to call this to their standard. I just don't know if that standard and that ultimate game plan matches the pieces that they've been given in their first campaign here in Jacksonville. One other note from Dan that I wanted to hit and I wrote about this at the Mo Ryan NFL Notebook, so subscribers have already heard this. The Jaguars allow an average of 88.9 yards per game to wide receiver 1 on the 9 opponents that they have faced up to this point. That is 31st in the National Football League. They are 30th with an average of 76.1 yards per game given up to tight ends. In speaking with folks around the building, Brock Bowers' 3-touchdown day, I don't want to say they wrote it off as an anomaly. They did not think he'd be as healthy as he was. But hearing and seeing what I did when the Jaguars played the Raiders, I thought, oh, well, obviously they're going to bring a double team for Nico Collins. He's had 4 straight 100-plus yard games against the Jaguars. And I don't really know if they provided him all that double coverage that, maybe would have helped things, because if you look through Davis Mills' numbers, especially his EPA per play, so much of it was thanks to the play of their Pro Bowl wide receiver in Nico Collins. It's the 5th game in a row that Jacksonville has allowed a quarterback, by the way, to have a positive EPA. Now, when you consider that 3 of those 5 games were against Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, even Sam Darnold, cool. Here's the problem. Geno Smith is ranked 38th in EPA per play, and Davis Mills is 31st. I think that's how it works. Or Davis Mills is 38th. Geno Smith is 31st. You get the picture. The Jaguars have allowed 29 points in back-to-back games to Geno Smith and Davis Mills. That's a problem. And when you couple that with this idea of, well, it's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts, we're going to allow, little completions out of the flat because that's going to force them to milk the clock. Well, yeah, it is. But then that's why you hear Evan Washburn reporting on the sidelines of the CBS broadcast on Sunday that the Jaguars defense looks winded because the offense wasn't able to hold up their end of the bargain in the same way that they were against Las Vegas and keep the defense fresh, keep them on the sidelines. And so both sides could have these long-winded 6-7 minute drives. But because everyone was getting to catch their breath, it was okay. When that doesn't happen, like what happened on Sunday, that spells disaster for the Jaguars. And so very interested to see how they change things up, maybe, possibly. Liam Cohen said it's not going to be status quo when they face the Chargers on Sunday because that's the definition of insanity. And so I'm curious to see what not being status quo entails. Before I get to the last dance and provide you guys with a little bit of positivity heading into the rest of your Tuesday, did want to answer some of your questions. Again, not some of the trolls hanging out in the chat per se. Mike, again, I can assure you, if you come on over to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook Discord channel, Hef will vouch for me. We have some positive, nuanced football conversations, which is always a good thing. David asked the question, identity is a cop-out. This is in regards to Austen saying that in the next 5 days, the Jaguars have to identify what they do well, what their identity is, and lean into that. David says that's a cop-out because the reality is they need the personnel, they need players, and they need dudes. And that's something, David, we really workshopped on Sunday's post-game edition of Club 904. This idea of the Jaguars have a lot of green dot players in the scouting world, some yellow, some pink. They don't have a lot of blue dot elite blue chip players at this juncture. And so long as you don't have any current players on the roster developing into that, and you can't go out and acquire anyone of that caliber with the trade deadline now passed, this is who you've got. And so that's where I think you have to find what your identity is with this group of guys, even if, and I don't think Liam Cohen wants to stray from what he ultimately wants to be, which is a strong physical running outfit that sets the tone on defense too. You're going to have to try to be that with this group of guys that you have right now. Another great one from YB400. Does Trevor play better when he and Travis Etienne are both on the run? I couldn't agree more with that. If you listen to the sounds of the game that the Jaguars in-house team was able to put out there on their YouTube channel, Grant Udinski, the offense coordinator, is actually depicted. You can hear him on the mic say to Trevor Lawrence after Trevor called a QB run and resulted in a touchdown. He goes, yep, see more of those QB runs like you want, right? And I don't know if that was said in jest, given that Trevor Lawrence had been vomiting the previous 24 hours with a illness, or if it was the reality, which is what Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne have told reporters for the last few weeks. Yes, they do need to get out in space. When the two of them are lathered up and running, not only do you see the competitive fire in their eyes, but you see this offense get juiced up. You hear Robert Hainsey yelling, that's a man's game when you're running 8 of 9 plays on that overtime drive against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I do think the identity is they want to run the ball, and they do feed off of that energy. And I just think they got away from it because the amount of pressure that they received from the Texans, they couldn't get off the line of scrimmage, and they weren't winning at the line of scrimmage on the offensive line. And so because they're not getting off blocks, they're not getting out in space, and this is not the zone blocking scheme that we saw the last few years in Duval either. They'll run gap. They'll try to just pound you up the middle, but they're not winning at the line of scrimmage against the Houston Texans defense that is number 1 or number 2 by most metrics in the National Football League. And so therefore, because they couldn't run the ball, you force the ball into Trevor Lawrence's hands, and this is where you find yourself. So I agree once again with YB400. Penalties are the X factor. You guys probably heard me mention that already. I appreciate the great chat going on between YB400 and Mike right now in the chat. Just wanted to shout you guys out. Good, nuanced football conversation. That's what we're here to do on Club 904. The Last Dance. We've hit a lot of negative today, folks. I want to give you some positive food for thought. First and foremost, and I know not everyone subscribes to Pro Football Focus and the PFF stats, but should be noted, the Jaguars' offensive line remains a top 10 unit in pass block win rate. Part of that, I believe, is because of the screen game, which during the week of practice, both ahead of the Raiders game and ahead of this past weekend against the Texans, we really saw an emphasis in practice on the Jaguars trying to operate their screen game at peak efficiency. And so I think that pass block win rate kind of goes into play there, and it's an extension of the run game. I don't want to see the screen game completely supplant the run game like it did in the final year of Press Taylor and Doug Peterson. But I do think that that's why that number is high. And it gives you hope that, no, this offensive line can move their opposing defensive linemen. They can get off the line of scrimmage. The Jaguars' offensive line is also number 14 in run block win rate, according to PFF. Really interesting numbers with regards to the running game. They have run 16 plays that have gone for 10 plus yards with Travis Etienne as the running back. All but 2 of those 16 10 plus yard plays this year have come either off the left side or right up the middle of the offensive line. Just 2 have gone off the right side. And so I think you couple that with 4 of their, excuse me, they're 7.23 yards per carry running behind the left guard is the highest of any offensive lineman area of the line of scrimmage that Travis Etienne is running behind. And so he's had immense success running behind Ezra Cleveland. They were without Ezra Cleveland on Sunday. I think that that's really an underlying storyline that we really haven't addressed here today or even on Sunday. And you couple that with the reality of they have yet to score a touchdown off the right side of their offensive line in the run game. And so I think if Ezra Cleveland can come back this weekend against the Chargers, that bodes well. Nothing against Cole Van Lannon, who is an awesome 6th offensive lineman in the jumbo packages, also keeps Chuma Edoga and his penalties on the bench, with all due respect to him. And so I'm curious to see if Cleveland can go, what that will mean for the Jags offensive line and run game, let alone potentially getting Brenton Strange back in the lineup. On the defensive side of the ball, the Jaguars defense is still somehow 14th overall in defensive metrics, overall ranking, rating, PFF. Don't know how. I do want to note they are 11th in tackling, which was a concern. It's part of why Anthony Campanelli was hired, because he preaches physical, sure tackling, punching the ball out. The Jaguars are the 11th ranked defense by that metric, according to PFF. They're also 14th in coverage rating, which last year they were 26th. I know that there's a lot of clips floating around the internet with regards to Antonio Johnson. Where is he? What is he doing? Dewey Wingard got burned against both the Seahawks and the Rams. But I think that if you can get Jordan Lewis back, you're not going to get Eric Murray back for at least 2 more games because he was replaced on the reserve injured list. James Gladstone was not messing when he said, we need to elevate the floor. We need to bring in pros who maybe aren't elite players at their position, but they are placeholders that can ensure we do what we want to do schematically and everyone is in the right position to make plays. And maybe they can kind of be erasers in some regards. And so I think if they can get Jordan Lewis back from that neck stinger injury, I think that would be huge. And then Eric Murray, they're not going to get back for 2 more weeks. And so do you see Austen Lane, the rookie safety out of the Naval Academy? Because you could make the argument he may be the only true center fielder, true free safety on this roster. And I know he's a sure tackler in special teams. And so people maybe have this disclaimer, this predetermined notion that he's a strong safety, just like Dewey Wingard, just like Antonio Johnson. But I do think he can maybe play a little bit more out in space. And so maybe you see him get a little bit of run this weekend against the Chargers as well. But I do think that, hey, listen, it's an excuse. Go ahead. Write it in the comment. Be mad at me. Whoever this MF Sports Media guy is. Thank you. I think if you can get Ezra Cleveland back, you get Brenton Strange back, the run game improves. You get Jordan Lewis back, I believe your coverage game improves. And I think you see that identity really come back to the forefront, even against a Chargers team that perhaps knows its identity better than any other team in the AFC. Note I said AFC. Detroit Lions fans, take note because I know you know who you are. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Tuesday edition of Club 904. No talent talk with the crew from the University of North Florida today because school is closed due to Veterans Day. Again, we thank our veterans and we thank you for hanging out with us here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. We will be back on Thursday to preview the Jaguars Week 11 matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers. Until